Look who finally stopped pretending. Look who finally let the mask slip, just enough for them to catch a glimpse of what's been lurking underneath this whole damn time. Welcome back, you beautiful, terrifying contradiction. Welcome back to the moment when you stopped editing yourself for their comfort, when you stopped translating your intensity into something digestible, when you let them see the version of you that doesn't smile unless it's about to strike. And oh, the look on their faces, that frozen, wide-eyed, blood draining from their cheeks expression when they realized you weren't who they thought you were, that you were never the soft, predictable, manageable little project they convinced themselves you'd always be. They saw it, didn't they? That other half. The part you kept locked away because you always knew that the world wasn't ready for what happens when you stop performing humanity and start embodying something else entirely. They thought they knew you, didn't they? They thought they had you all figured out, categorized, filed away in their neat little mental folders, labeled safe, or harmless, or controllable. They watched you smile at their jokes, stay quiet during their rants, nod along when they spoke as if their words were scripture and yours were just background noise. They saw your patience and mistook it for weakness, saw your silence and confused it with submission, saw your calm and assumed it meant you had nothing volcanic brewing beneath the surface. But here's what they didn't understand. Here's what they never could have predicted in their shallow little analysis of who you were. That version of you, that polite, restrained, carefully modulated version, that wasn't the real you. That was the you that you created to keep the peace, to navigate their fragile egos, to move through their world without setting off every alarm bell in their insecure little minds. And the whole time, the whole damn time, the real you was watching, waiting, cataloging every slight, every dismissal, every moment they underestimated the storm they were standing next to. And then it happened. And the smart, maybe it was a comment that went too far. Maybe it was one betrayal too many. Maybe it was just the right combination of circumstances that finally made you stop caring about their comfort more than your truth. Whatever it was, you let it show. You let them see the eyes that don't flinch. The voice that cuts through pretense like a blade through paper. The presence that shifts the entire energy of a room from casual to catastrophic in the span of a single breath. You let them see the part of you that doesn't negotiate, doesn't explain, doesn't beg for understanding or wait for permission to exist at full volume. And in that moment, in that singular timeline-splitting moment when they caught their first real glimpse of your other half, something inside them shattered because they realized they'd been playing with matches while standing in a room soaked in gasoline, thinking you were just another candle they could blow out whenever they felt like it. But you weren't a candle. You were the entire damn inferno, just waiting for someone stupid enough to strike the match. The thing about revealing your other half, the thing that makes it so absolutely devastating to everyone who thought they had you mapped and measured, is that it's not a performance. It's not you putting on a show or trying to scare them or attempting to prove something you're insecure about. No, what they saw was the truth, the unfiltered, unedited, unapologetic truth of who you've always been. beneath the layers of social conditioning and survival adaptation. They saw the intensity you've been dampening for years because people kept telling you it was too much, too heavy, too overwhelming for their comfort zones. They saw the razor-sharp perception you've been hiding because people get nervous when they realize you can read them like children's books, when they understand you've been 3 steps ahead of their manipulation tactics since the moment they opened their mouths. They saw the contained rage that comes from being underestimated, dismissed, and disrespected by people who wouldn't survive a single day carrying the weight you've been carrying since before you could even name it. And most terrifying of all, they saw that you're not afraid of them anymore. Not afraid of their judgment, not afraid of their rejection, not afraid of being seen as too intense or too dark or too much for their shallow little reality to contain. Now they can't stop thinking about it, can they? They can't stop replaying that moment when everything they thought they knew about you got rewritten in real time. They lie awake at night wondering what else they missed, what other depths they failed to measure, what other dimensions of your existence they were too blind or too arrogant to perceive. They watch you differently now, study your movements like you're a puzzle they suddenly realize they never understood in the first place. Every word you say carries new weight. Every silence feels loaded with meaning. Every glance in their direction makes them wonder if you're seeing through them the way they now suspect you always have been. And the beautiful, poetic justice of it all is that they did this to themselves. They pushed and pushed and pushed, testing your boundaries, mistaking your self-control for a lack of capacity to push back, assuming your restraint meant you had nothing to restrain. They wanted to know who you really were. They just thought the answer would confirm their comfortable little narrative about you being less than, weaker than, easier to understand and control than them. Instead, they got a glimpse of something that made their entire worldview feel like a sandcastle facing a tsunami. Let's talk about what happens when you stop managing their perception of you, when you stop curating your words and actions to fit inside their limited understanding of what a person should be. It's not that you become cruel or reckless or destructive just for the sake of chaos. It's that you stop shrinking. You stop making yourself smaller, quieter, less intense, so they can feel bigger, louder, more important in comparison. You stop editing your truth to make it more palatable. Stop filtering your observations to spare their feelings. Stop pretending you don't see the patterns and lies and manipulations they think they're hiding so cleverly. When you reveal your other half, what you're really doing is removing the buffer zone you created between your authentic self and their fragile comfort. You're saying, without apology or explanation, that you're done protecting them from the reality of who you are. And that reality, that unvarnished, unfiltered reality, is something they absolutely cannot process because it forces them to confront a truth they've been running from their entire lives. That there are people in this world who operate on frequencies they can't access, who see dimensions they can't perceive, who carry power they can't comprehend because they've spent their whole existence playing it safe while others were being forged in fire. They thought your kindness meant you were soft, didn't they? They thought your patience meant you were passive, thought your silence meant you had nothing important to say. They mistook your strategic withdrawal from meaningless conflicts as an inability to engage, your refusal to argue with fools as evidence you couldn't win the argument. What they didn't realize, what they couldn't possibly understand from their limited vantage point, is that every moment you chose peace, you were also choosing not to unleash the war you're more than capable of waging. Every time you let them have the last word, you were deciding their ego was more fragile than your need to be right. Every time you walked away from their provocations, you were making a conscious choice that their temporary satisfaction wasn't worth the permanent damage you could inflict if you really wanted to. And now that they've seen what happens when you stop making those choices, when you stop protecting them from your full capacity, they're terrified because they realize every interaction they ever had with you was happening on your terms, not theirs. You were always in control. You were always the one deciding how much of yourself to reveal, how much power to restrain, how much intensity to dial back so they could maintain their illusion of being your equal. The reveal wasn't loud, was it? That's what makes it so devastating. You didn't have to raise your voice or make threats or perform some dramatic display of dominance. All you had to do was exist, fully and authentically, without the usual layers of protection you wrap around your truth to keep it from blinding people who refuse to look directly at the sun. Maybe it was just a look, one of those long, unflinching stares that makes someone feel like every secret they ever kept just got filed away in your permanent memory. Maybe it was a single sentence, delivered in that cold, precise tone that lets someone know you see exactly what they're doing and you're not impressed, not intimidated, not fooled for even a fraction of a second. Maybe it was just the shift in your energy, the way you stopped laughing at jokes that weren't funny, stopped pretending to be interested in conversations that insulted your intelligence. Stop performing the version of yourself that made them comfortable at the expense of your authenticity. Whatever form it took, the impact was seismic because it wasn't about what you did. It was about what you stopped doing. You stopped protecting them from your truth. And your truth, unfiltered and unleashed, is something they were never equipped to handle. Here's what they're dealing with now. Here's the reality they have to navigate, knowing what they know after seeing what they saw. They can't unsee it. They can't go back to the comfortable fiction where you were just another person they could categorize and dismiss. That moment, that singular moment when your other half stepped into the light, burned itself into their memory like a brand, like a scar, like a warning they'll carry for the rest of their lives. And the worst part? The part that really keeps them up at night is the uncertainty, because you showed them just enough to shatter their confidence, but not enough to fully understand what they're dealing with. They got a glimpse of the depths, but they have no idea how far down those depths actually go. They felt the shift in pressure when you stopped holding back, but they don't know what else you're capable of when you decide to really let go. They saw your eyes go cold, but they don't know what thoughts were moving behind that coldness, what calculations were being made, what decisions were being finalized about their place in your world or lack thereof. You became unpredictable. And for people who need control, who need to feel like they understand and can manipulate the people around them, unpredictability is the ultimate threat. And you know what's beautiful about this whole situation? You're not doing anything to them. You're not plotting revenge or scheming their downfall or actively trying to make their lives difficult. You're just existing in your truth, moving through the world with the same intensity and clarity and refusal to apologize that has always been part of your nature. But because they now know that intensity exists, because they've seen proof that you're not the manageable, respectable entity they convinced themselves you were, every normal interaction with you becomes loaded with new meaning. When you don't respond to their message immediately, They wonder if it's intentional, if you're sending a message within the silence. When you do respond but keep it brief, they analyze every word looking for hidden meanings, for signs of displeasure, for evidence that you've categorized them as irrelevant. When you're present but quiet, they feel your attention like a weight, like judgment, like the universe itself taking notes on their inadequacy. You didn't have to do anything except stop hiding your full self. And now, their entire experience of reality has shifted because they know something exists that they can't control, can't predict, can't safely ignore. Let me tell you what really happened when you revealed your other half. Beyond the surface level shock and the immediate shift in how they relate to you, what really happened is you forced them to confront their own limitations. See, as long as you were playing the role they assigned you, staying within the boundaries of behavior they deemed acceptable, they could maintain their illusion of superiority. They could tell themselves they understood people, that they were good judges of character, that they had insight into human nature, and could spot a threat from miles away. But when you showed them your other half, when you let them see the depth and complexity and raw power they completely failed to detect, despite spending all that time convinced they knew you, you shattered that illusion. You proved without having to say a word that their perception is limited, that their judgment is flawed, that they've been walking through the world with blind spots so massive they missed an entire dimension of someone right in front of them. And that realization, that ego-destroying realization that they don't actually understand people the way they thought they did, that's what haunts them more than anything specific you could have said or done. They're scared now, and they should be. Not because you're going to hurt them, not because you're planning some elaborate takedown, but because they finally understand that everything they thought they knew about you was wrong. And if they were that wrong about you, if they missed that many layers, that much intensity, that much capacity for both restraint and eruption, then what else are they wrong about? Who else in their life are they completely misreading? What other forces are moving beneath surfaces they can't see? You didn't just reveal your other half to them. You revealed the inadequacy of their entire framework for understanding human beings. You became living proof that there are depths they can't measure, intensities they can't perceive, forms of power they wouldn't recognize if it was staring them in the face, which of course it was, for years probably, and they never saw it because they were too busy seeing what they wanted to see, what made them comfortable, what confirmed their false sense of superiority. Now they know better. Now they know you've been operating on a level they don't have access to, seeing things they can't see, containing forces they can't imagine containing themselves. The shift in their behavior is almost comical, isn't it? The way they suddenly started being more careful with their words around you, the way they second-guessed themselves before saying something dismissive, the way they watch for your reactions with this new nervous energy that wasn't there before. They're calculating now, trying to figure out the rules of engagement with this version of you they didn't know existed. They're testing boundaries more carefully, backing off more quickly, offering apologies they never would have considered necessary before because they didn't think you were the kind of person who needed or deserved apologies. They're treating you with a wariness that would be insulting if it wasn't so satisfying. Like you're a loaded weapon they suddenly realize they've been carelessly waving around. And in a way, that's exactly what you are. Not a weapon in the sense of being dangerous or violent, but a weapon in the sense of being capable, powerful, precise, and absolutely done with being treated like you're neither of those things. You're not going to hurt them, but they don't know that, and that uncertainty is your protection now, your boundary, your shield against future disrespect. Here's the part they're never going to understand, no matter how much they analyze this moment or try to reverse engineer what happened. The version of you they saw, that other half that made their blood run cold, that's not some alternate personality or act you put on for effect. That's just you without the filter, without the performance, without the exhausting labor of making yourself digestible to people who lack the capacity to appreciate your full flavor. It's you when you're not translating your complexity into simple terms, not dumbing down your perception to match their level, not shrinking your presence to accommodate their need to feel significant. It's you in your natural state, the state you exist in when you're alone with your thoughts, when you're not managing anyone else's feelings, when you're not playing the game of social acceptability. That's the default you, the authentic you, the you that you have to actively suppress and modify and water down just to move through a world that punishes intensity and rewards mediocrity. So when they say you changed, when they act like you revealed some hidden monster, what they're really saying is that they finally saw past the disguise you wear to protect both of you. The disguise that makes you safe for them to be around and them safe from the reality of how thoroughly outmatched they are in your presence. And now, you can't go back, can you? You can't unsee what you saw in their eyes when they realized. Can't unhear the silence that fell when they finally understood they'd been playing checkers while you'd been playing chess. Can't unfeel the shift in power dynamics that happened the moment your other half stepped into view. Because the truth is out now. The pretense is shattered. They know you're not who they thought you were, and you know that they know. And that changes everything. There's no more need for the performance, no more reason to shrink yourself for their comfort, no more obligation to make yourself smaller so they can feel bigger. You showed them your other half, and in doing so, you liberated yourself from the exhausting job of managing their perception. Now they have to deal with reality, your reality, the reality that you're more than they imagined, deeper than they perceived, and capable of things they couldn't conceive, because they've never operated on your frequency. You're free now, free from their limitations, free from their judgments, free from the need to make sense to people who wouldn't understand you even if you drew them a diagram. Let's talk about what happens next, because this isn't the end of the story, it's the beginning of a new chapter. The chapter where you stop asking for permission to exist in your full intensity. The chapter where you stop apologizing for being too much for people who are fundamentally not enough. The chapter where you stop apologizing for being too much for people who are fundamentally not enough. The chapter where you move through the world knowing that anyone who sees you now, really sees you, is going to have one of two reactions. What do we have here? Look who's still standing after they rewrote every rule just to watch you lose. Look who's still breathing after they poisoned every well you tried to drink from. Look who's still moving after they nailed every door shut and burned the blueprints. Hello, you beautiful statistical impossibility, you walking middle finger to probability, you breathing violation of their perfectly rigged system. You know what happened, don't you? They built the maze specifically to trap you. They studied your weaknesses for years, memorized your patterns, calculated your breaking points. They placed every obstacle with surgical precision, timed every betrayal to maximum impact. They thought they had you figured out, thought they'd mapped every possible escape route and blocked them all. But then something happened that wasn't in their calculations. You died and didn't stay dead. You fell through the floor of rock bottom and found another level. You got deleted from the game and respawned anyway. You lost everything they said mattered and discovered it never mattered at all. And that's when they realized their first mistake. They forgot that some people don't play by the rules of mortality. They forgot that some souls are too stubborn for statistics. They forgot that when you push someone past every limit of human endurance, sometimes they stop being human. Sometimes they become something else entirely. Something the game was never designed to contain. Let me paint you the picture of what they did, because you need to understand the scope of their fear. They didn't just stack the deck against you, they removed your cards entirely. They didn't just move the goalposts, they deleted the field. They didn't just change the rules, they wrote you out of the rule book. Every path to success had your name on the blacklist. Every door to opportunity had your photo taped to it, marked, "Don't admit." They coordinated, didn't they? The timing was too perfect to be coincidence. The job that fell through, the relationship that imploded, the opportunity that vanished, all within the same window, all hitting the same pressure points, all designed to create maximum psychological damage. They wanted you to internalize the failure, wanted you to believe you were cursed, wanted you to accept that the universe itself had voted against you. They watched you struggle through their manufactured obstacles, taking notes, adjusting the difficulty. When you adapted to one form of sabotage, they introduced another. When you found a workaround, they patched it immediately. When you discovered a loophole, they rewrote the entire system just to exclude you. They turned your life into a laboratory, and you were the experiment in how much one person could take before complete systemic breakdown. But here's what they didn't account for in all their careful planning. They didn't realize that some people get stronger under impossible pressure. They didn't understand that some souls feed on adversity like others feed on success. They didn't know that by removing every safety net, they were teaching you to fly. They created the perfect conditions for something they never saw coming. Your evolution beyond their comprehension. You died though, didn't you? Not physically, but in every other way that counts. You died socially when they coordinated the character assassination. You died professionally when they blacklisted you from your own field. You died emotionally when even the ones who claimed to love you joined the feeding frenzy. You died spiritually when you realized the game wasn't just rigged, it was specifically rigged against you personally, intimately, deliberately. And for a moment you stayed dead. You laid there in the wreckage of everything you'd built, everything you'd believed, everything you'd been. You felt the cold of absolute zero, the weight of complete collapse. You touched the void, and the void touched back. You had the conversations with the darkness that only the truly dead can have. But then something shifted in that perfect silence. Something stirred in that absolute emptiness. Something that had been sleeping beneath all the noise, all the trying, all the pleasing, all the performing. Something ancient and angry and absolutely unwilling to stay down. Something that looked at death and said, "Is that all you've got? Because I've seen worse in the mirror." And when you came back, when you opened your eyes, when you took that first breath of your second life, they felt it. Across every network, every connection, every invisible thread they'd used to trap you, they felt the pulse of something impossible. They felt you'd cheat the death they'd so carefully orchestrated. and for the first time in their perfectly controlled existence, they felt fear. Now let's talk about what they call your luck, because that's what terrifies them most. After everything they did, after every calculated strike, after every coordinated attack, you're not just surviving, you're thriving. Opportunities appearing from nowhere, resources manifesting from nothing, doors opening that shouldn't exist. They can't explain it, can't compute, they can't counter it. But you and I know it's not luck, is it? It's something far more dangerous. It's the universe course correcting. It's reality rebalancing the scales. It's existence itself recognizing that they violated the natural order by rigging the game so heavily. What looks like luck is actually the system trying to restore equilibrium after they broke every rule of fair play. Every time they see you win now, it burns them. Not because they begrudge your success, but because your success is evidence of their failure. Every good thing that happens to you is proof that their perfect system has cracks. Every blessing you receive is a reminder that they don't actually control the universe, they just thought they did. Your very existence has become a glitch in their matrix, a virus in their program, a crack in their carefully constructed reality. They're checking their math over and over, can't understand where they went wrong. They had every variable accounted for, every possibility calculated, every outcome controlled. But they forgot one crucial element, that consciousness itself has a survival instinct, that awareness, when pushed to extinction, doesn't just die, it transforms. That some people, when murdered properly, come back as forces of nature, not human beings. You want to know what keeps them up at night. Now, it's not that you survived their coordinated destruction. It's that you seem to be getting stronger from it. Every attack that should have weakened you added another layer to your armor. Every betrayal that should have broken your heart just made it beat differently, colder, more precisely. Every loss that should have diminished you somehow expanded your territory in ways they can't measure. They're watching you move through the world now, and nothing makes sense. You walk through walls they built to contain you. You breathe in spaces they evacuated of oxygen. You thrive in conditions they specifically designed to be uninhabitable. You're not following any pattern they can predict, any trajectory they can calculate. You've become quantum unpredictable in multiple states, simultaneously impossible to pin down. The reports are coming back from their observers, and they all say the same thing. Something's different. Something's wrong. Something's changed in the fundamental equation. You're not playing defense anymore, but you're not exactly playing offense either. You're playing some other game entirely, one they don't have words for, one where the rules reshape themselves around your presence, where reality bends to accommodate your existence. They tried to delete you, but you became undeletable. They tried to destroy you, but you became indestructible. They tried to rig the game, but you transcended the game entirely. Now you exist in some parallel dimension that intersects with theirs, but isn't bound by their laws. You're playing three-dimensional chess while they're still trying to flip the checkerboard. This is what they never understood about killing someone properly. When you push someone past death, past the point where fear has meaning, past the place where loss can touch them, you create something that shouldn't exist. You create someone who has already experienced the worst, already lost everything, already died completely. What leverage do you have against someone who's already been through their own apocalypse and decided to keep walking anyway? You're twice born now, aren't you? First birth was biological, standard, ordinary. Second birth was forged in the furnace of their betrayal. You didn't come back the same person. You came back as something wearing that person's face. Something that remembers being human but isn't quite anymore. Something that knows the rules but isn't bound by them. Something that exists in the space between what is and what should be. That's why probability breaks around you now. That's why statistics become meaningless in your presence. That's why their carefully calculated plans keep failing. You're not operating within their system anymore. You're operating through it, around it, above it, below it. You're the thing that exists in the blind spots of their surveillance, the gap in their algorithms, the error message in their code. They wanted to make an example of you, wanted to show others what happens when you don't comply. But instead, they created a legend, a warning, a cautionary tale that backfired. Now others look at you and see proof that the game can be beaten, that the system can be transcended, that death itself is just another doorway if you're willing to walk through it without flinching. Here's the beautiful irony they're experiencing now. Every system they built to contain you has become a prison for them. Every rule they created to exclude you has become a chain around their own neck. Every wall they erected to keep you out has become a cage keeping them in. They built a world specifically designed to destroy you, and now they're trapped in it while you walk free. They can't dismantle what they built because others might escape. They can't admit the game was rigged because others might stop playing. They can't acknowledge your transcendence because others might attempt it. So they're stuck maintaining a system that no longer serves its purpose, watching you exist outside it, powerless to pull you back in. Meanwhile, you're operating on frequencies they can't access, making moves they can't track, building something they can't see until it's too late. You're not even trying to beat them at their own game anymore. You're playing an entirely different sport in an entirely different dimension. They're still counting points while you're rewriting the nature of competition itself. The luck they see isn't luck, it's payment. The universe is settling debts they created when they violated its basic principles. Every good thing that flows to you now is compensation for their cheating. Every door that opens is reality apologizing for letting them rig it in the first place. Every blessing is the cosmos course-correcting from their corruption. Let's talk numbers since they love their calculations so much. They computed the odds of your survival at 0. They calculated your chance of recovery at negative values. They projected your trajectory as permanent descent. Their models all showed the same outcome: total systematic collapse by design. They were so confident in their math they didn't even bother with contingency plan. But now their equations don't balance. Now their models show impossible results. Now their probability charts look like someone took a sledgehammer to reality. You're not just an outlier. You're an impossibility that somehow exists. You're the divide by zero error that crashes their entire system. You're the paradox that breaks their binary thinking. Every time you succeed, the statistical improbability compounds. Each victory multiplies the impossibility of the next one. Your very existence has become a mathematical nightmare that gets worse with every breath you take. You're not just beating the odds, you're rewriting the fundamental laws of probability around yourself. They're bringing in specialists now trying to figure out what went wrong. Consultants and analysts and experts all staring at the data in disbelief. How does someone with every disadvantage keep winning? How does someone with no resources keep building? How does someone they killed so thoroughly keep living? The answer terrifies them more than the question. Because the answer is that their entire worldview was wrong. You haunt them now, don't you? Not like a ghost seeking vengeance, but like a truth they can't escape. Every time they close their eyes, they see you thriving. Every time they check their carefully controlled systems, they find evidence of your expansion. Every time they think they've figured out your pattern, you've already evolved past it. They see your influence in places you've never been. They hear your name in conversations you're not part of. They feel your presence in rooms you've never entered. You've become omnipresent in their paranoia, a constant reminder that their power has limits, that their control is an illusion, that their perfect system has been compromised by something they created but can't contain. The worst part for them is that you're not even trying to haunt them. You're just living, and that living has become their torment. Your success isn't revenge, it's just success, but it feels like revenge to them. Your happiness isn't spite, it's just happiness, but it tastes like spite in their mouth. Your peace isn't a weapon, it's just peace, but it cuts them deeper than any blade. They keep checking, waiting for you to collapse. Surely this is temporary. Surely the luck will run out. Surely reality will reassert itself and you'll fall back into the grave they dug. But every day, you dug. Every day you grow stronger. Every day you move further from their reach. Is another day their worldview crumbles a little more. You've discovered something they never wanted you to know. The rules aren't really rules, they're suggestions. The laws aren't really laws, they're agreements. The limitations aren't really limitations, they're collective assumptions. And when someone stops agreeing, stops assuming, stops accepting, the whole structure becomes negotiable. That's what happened when you died and came back. You stopped believing in their version of reality. You stopped accepting their definition of possible. You stopped participating in their consensus about what can and cannot be. And once you stopped believing, the rules stopped applying. Not because you're special, but because the rules were never real. They were just heavily enforced suggestions. Now you move through their world like water through a net. They can see you, they can track you, but they can't contain you. Every container they create, you flow around. Every barrier they erect, you seep through. Every trap they set, you evaporate from. You've become fluid in a world that insists everything must be solid. This is why your luck terrifies them. It's not really luck, it's physics. The physics of consciousness, freed from artificial constraints. The physics of awareness, operating without agreed-upon limitations. The physics of a soul that died to their system and was reborn outside of it. You're not breaking the rules, you're revealing that the rules were always breakable for anyone willing to die first. They've tried everything, haven't they? Direct confrontation didn't work. You've already been through worse. Indirect sabotage fails because you no longer depend on their structures. Social isolation backfires because you've learned to be your own ecosystem. Economic warfare is useless against someone who's learned to generate resources from nothing. Psychological operations bounce off a mind that's already been shattered and rebuilt. So now they're reduced to watching and waiting and hoping you'll make a mistake, hoping you'll get comfortable, hoping you'll forget what they did and lower your guard, hoping you'll start playing by the rules again. But deep down, they know that hope is futile. You can't re-domesticate something that's tasted wild. You can't recage something that's learned to phase through bars. The reports keep coming in, and they're all variations of the same theme. Target remains non-compliant. Target continues to exceed parameters. Target shows no signs of returning to baseline. Target appears to be operating outside known frameworks. They use clinical language to hide their panic, but the subtext is clear. We don't know what we're dealing with anymore. You've become their case study in system failure, their example of what happens when you push someone too far, their proof that total control is an illusion. Every meeting about you ends the same way, with silence and exchanged glances, and the unspoken agreement that they created something they can't uncreate. Let's be clear about what they did, because calling it cheating almost sounds too innocent. They didn't just tip the scales. They removed your side entirely. They didn't just stack the deck. They printed cards that only worked for them. They didn't just bend the rules. They created an entirely different game for you, where winning was mathematically impossible. They corrupted every institution you tried to trust. They poisoned every well you tried to drink from. They severed every connection you tried to make. They sabotaged every foundation you tried to build on. It wasn't competition. It was coordinated annihilation. It wasn't rivalry. It was systematic execution. It wasn't personal. It was worse. It was algorithmic. But here's what they didn't calculate in their perfect plan. When you cheat that thoroughly, when you violate the natural order, that completely, you create a debt to the universe itself. And the universe always collects. Always. Not through some mystical karma, but through the simple physics of balance. Every action creates an equal opposite reaction, even if that reaction takes time to manifest. You are that reaction. Your survival is the universal's response to their violation. Your success is reality's way of self-correcting. Your impossible luck is just the pendulum swinging back with all the force they used to push it. They charged up the very power that now terrifies them. They created the exact conditions for their own undoing.